The sun hung high in the midday sky, casting long shadows across the bustling city. A gentle breeze rustled leaves in the park, carrying the sounds of children's laughter. It was an ordinary day, filled with the rhythm of life, until it wasn't. An eerie silence fell over the earth. Then the impossible happened. The ground lurched violently, throwing people off their feet. Buildings groaned and swayed, their foundations ripped apart. The sun seemed to freeze in place, locked in a perpetual noon. The earth had stopped spinning. Panic erupted as the reality of the situation sank in. The once familiar world was now a chaotic nightmare. The sun, once a source of life, now beat down with relentless fury on one side of the planet, while the other side plunged into an eternal night. The very fabric of time and day had been ripped apart, leaving behind a chilling silence. Communication networks overloaded and crashed, isolating people from their loved ones. Fear and confusion reigned supreme. The world as we knew it was gone, replaced by a terrifying new reality where survival was the only imperative. The stillness of the earth was short-lived. The atmosphere, still bound by inertia, continued to move, creating monstrous winds that swept across the globe with unimaginable fury. Cities were transformed into swirling vortexes of debris, forests were flattened like fields of grass, and the once familiar landscapes were reshaped into alien terrains. Tsunamis, towering walls of water, rose from the oceans, driven by the shifting gravitational forces. Coastal cities vanished beneath the waves in an instant, leaving behind only echoes of their existence. Inland, lakes and rivers overflowed their banks, flooding vast areas and adding to the devastation. The survivors, those lucky enough or resilient enough to have weathered the initial onslaught, emerged into a world they no longer recognized. The air was thick with dust and the stench of decay. The skies were painted in hues of red and orange, a constant reminder of the sun's unrelenting heat. They were refugees in their own land, facing a future that promised only hardship and uncertainty. Days turned into weeks, the initial chaos replaced by an unsettling calm. The winds died down, leaving behind an eerie silence broken only by the mournful cries of birds disoriented by the lack of day and night. The dust settled, revealing the true extent of the devastation. It was a sobering sight. Amidst the ruins, small groups of survivors began to emerge, drawn together by the shared instinct to survive. They were a diverse group, united by their desperation and their will to live. There was Sarah, a doctor, who used her skills to tend to the injured. John, a former soldier, provided leadership and protection. Maria, a young mother, clung fiercely to her infant child, their survival her only focus. They knew they needed to find answers, to understand what had caused this catastrophe. Was it a natural phenomenon, a freak cosmic event, or was there something more sinister at play? The whispers of a man-made disaster began to circulate, fueled by fear and the human need for explanation. Their search for answers led them to a crumbling observatory, a beacon of knowledge in a world plunged into chaos. Inside, they found Professor Chen, an astrophysicist who had dedicated his life to unraveling the mysteries of the universe. He had been monitoring strange energy readings before the catastrophe, readings that hinted at an unnatural event. Chen, frail but sharp-minded, believed that the Earth's rotation had not stopped naturally, but had been halted by a powerful unknown force. He spoke of theoretical experiments in manipulating gravity, experiments that could have catastrophic consequences if mishandled. His words sent a chill down their spines. Could this be the answer? A man-made disaster of unimaginable proportions? Driven by a desperate hope, they set out to find the source of the energy surge, following Chen's calculations. Their journey was fraught with danger, the landscape treacherous and unforgiving. But they pressed on, their determination fueled by the belief that understanding the cause was the first step towards finding a solution. Section 5, The Experiment. Their search led them to a remote facility hidden deep within a mountain range. It was a place of cold, sterile efficiency, a stark contrast to the ravaged world outside. The facility was deserted, its occupants long gone, leaving behind only the chilling evidence of their work. Logs recovered from the facility's computer system painted a terrifying picture. A group of scientists, driven by hubris and a thirst for knowledge, had been conducting experiments in gravitational manipulation, attempting to harness one of the universe's most fundamental forces. They had succeeded, but at a terrible cost. The experiment had gone awry, creating a ripple effect that had stopped the Earth's rotation. The scientists, realizing the magnitude of their error, had fled, leaving behind a legacy of destruction. The survivors were filled with a mixture of anger and despair. The world had been sacrificed on the altar of scientific curiosity.
Section 6, the architect. Deep within the facility, they found him. Dr. Ivan Morozov, the brilliant but reckless scientist who had spearheaded the experiment. He was alone, a broken figure haunted by the consequences of his actions. He had stayed behind, hoping to find a way to undo the damage he had wrought. Morozov, consumed by guilt and remorse, explained the intricacies of his experiment, the delicate balance of forces he had attempted to manipulate. He revealed that he had developed a theoretical model that could potentially restart the Earth's rotation, but it was a long shot, a desperate gamble with the fate of humanity hanging in the balance. His words offered a glimmer of hope, a chance to reverse the catastrophe. But it was a faint hope, a flicker in the darkness. The survivors knew that even if they succeeded, the world would never be the same. The scars of this disaster would remain, a reminder of the day the Earth stood still.
Section 7. A glimmer of hope. Time was of the essence. Every moment that passed brought the Earth closer to irreversible damage. Working tirelessly, guided by Morozov's calculations, they began the arduous task of preparing the experiment. They scavenged materials, repaired damaged equipment, and pooled their collective knowledge in a desperate race against time. As they worked, a sense of purpose began to take hold. The initial despair gave way to a steely determination, a refusal to accept defeat. They had faced unimaginable loss, but they still had each other, and they had hope. The human spirit, even in the face of extinction, refused to be extinguished. The day of the experiment arrived, a day that would decide the fate of humanity. Tension hung heavy in the air as Morozov initiated the sequence. The facility hummed with energy, the very air crackling with anticipation. They could only watch and pray, their hopes pinned on this last desperate gamble. Section 8, a new dawn. A blinding light filled the room, followed by a deafening roar. Then silence. They held their breath, their hearts pounding. Had they succeeded? Slowly they emerged, eyes drawn to the sky. The sun began to move. It was enough. A cheer erupted. They had done it. As the sun rose on a new dawn, they knew this was a new beginning.